In 1968, a young man named Paul drove his fiancée, Lily, to a bustling city for a grand surprise. He wanted to make the moment unforgettable, so he gently tied a soft silk scarf over her eyes. "Trust me, darling," he said with a warm smile, his voice full of warmth. Lily giggled, her heart fluttering with excitement. She had no idea they were headed to the grand opening of the Sky View Tower, a new restaurant perched high above the clouds. Paul had worked tirelessly to secure their names a spot on the guest list for its opening night, and he couldn't wait to see her reaction. As the car hummed along, Lily tried to guess where they were going. "Is it a picnic by the river?" she asked, her voice playful. Paul only smiled, keeping his secret safe. When they arrived, he parked the car and guided her out, holding her hand tightly. "Ready?" he whispered. She nodded, and he untied the scarf. Lily's eyes widened as she gasped, staring up at the towering building. The Sky View Tower soared into the sky, its glass walls gleaming under the golden sunlight. It seemed to touch the heavens, a marvel of steel and dreams. But deep inside, a flicker of fear stirred in Lily's chest, a strange feeling she couldn't quite explain. She pushed it down, not wanting to spoil Paul's joy. She threw her arms around him, whispering, "This is amazing. Thank you." As they approached the entrance, a photographer greeted them with a bright flash. "Smile for the camera," he called. Paul and Lily posed, and the photographer handed them a small portrait to remember the day. Lily tucked it into her purse, her heart swelling with love. Inside, the tower's lobby was grand and elegant, with marble floors and golden lights. An elevator stood open, already crowded with excited guests. The operator, a kind man in a crisp uniform, waved them in. "There's room for 2 more," he said. Lily hesitated, her unease growing, but Paul squeezed her hand. Not wanting to seem ungrateful, she stepped inside. As the doors closed, they jammed briefly. The operator apologized, pressing the buttons again, and the elevator began its climb. "This tower was built 5 months ahead of schedule," he boasted proudly. Lily's stomach tightened at his words, her fear whispering that something wasn't right. To make matters worse, the mischievous boy from the fountain was in the elevator too. He stomped on the glass floor with a wicked grin, trying to scare her. Lily's heart raced, but the elevator reached the top floor safely, and she let out a shaky breath. The restaurant was breathtaking. Crystal chandeliers sparkled above, and massive windows revealed a dazzling view of the city below. Lily forgot her fears for a moment, awestruck by the beauty. But when they approached the hostess, their joy faltered. "I'm sorry, your names aren't on the list." Paul's face fell, explaining that the person who took their booking had been fired that morning. The hostess asked them to leave. Lily saw the disappointment in Paul's eyes and refused to let the night end like this. When the manager looked away, she tugged Paul toward the lively bar where a crowd was gathered. On the way, they paused to watch a chef perform a fiery cooking show, flames dancing in the air. The crowd cheered, and Lily clapped, trying to lift Paul's spirits. Paul led her to the panoramic windows, where the city sparkled like a sea of stars. He noticed her tense expression and frowned. "Are you okay, Lily? Are you scared of heights?" She shook her head quickly, forcing a smile. "No, I'm fine," she lied. To distract him, she plucked a rose from a nearby table and tucked it into his jacket pocket. But as she did, a thorn pricked her finger, drawing a drop of blood. She winced, and Paul hurried off to get some champagne, promising to be right back. Suddenly, a wave of nausea hit Lily. Her head spun, and she rushed toward the restroom, crossing the dance floor. She froze when she realized the floor was made of glass, revealing the steel beams far below. Her heart pounded, but the nausea surged, and she ran on, not noticing a small piece of the chandelier fall or the faint crack forming in the glass. In the hallway, she saw a young boy sitting alone. A woman, a singer performing on stage, she noticed Lily's pale face and asked gently, "Are you all right, dear?" Her kind eyes seemed to see right through Lily. "You're expecting, aren't you?" she said softly. Lily blushed, admitting she hadn't told Paul yet. The singer smiled warmly, offering to help, but Lily assured her she was fine. Just then, Paul returned, his face bright again. "Come with me," he said, leading her to the rooftop. The cool night air brushed Lily's skin as they stepped outside. Paul began to speak, his voice full of love, but Lily's eyes caught a woman chasing her hat, blown by the wind, and that same mischievous boy tossing coins off the edge. A security guard shouted, "Stop that kid! You could hurt someone below!" Lily's heart raced, but she focused on Paul as he knelt down, holding a ring. "Lily, will you marry me?" he asked. Tears filled her eyes, and she whispered, "Yes." She took a deep breath and added, "Paul, I'm pregnant." His face lit up with joy, and he hugged her tightly as the crowd around them clapped. He slipped the ring onto her finger, and they hurried back to the dance floor, laughing. As they danced, the mischievous boy tossed another coin, which slipped into a ventilation shaft. It jammed the fan blades, setting off a chain of events no one could foresee. The glass floor beneath the dancers began to crack, spreading like spider webs. Rivets popped from the steel beams below. The fan dislodged the coin, which struck a gas pipe with a faint clink. Lily's heart stopped as she sensed something terrible was coming. Before she could scream, the floor shattered. People plummeted, screaming, to the ground far below. Paul clung to a jagged piece of glass, his hands bleeding. Lily reached for him, sobbing, but his grip slipped. He fell, his body crashing lifelessly below. Chaos erupted. A panicked guest knocked over the chef, whose flaming skillet ignited a woman's dress. Fire spread quickly, and a gas leak triggered a massive explosion. The singer perished in the flames, her voice silenced forever. Lily ran toward the stairs, but the mischievous boy shoved her aside in his panic. She watched him flee down the collapsing staircase, barely staying ahead of the rubble. She turned to the elevator, but a stranger pulled her back just as it plunged into the shaft. The building tilted, groaning like a dying giant. Lily stumbled, searching for an escape. Others clung to a glass wall, staring in horror as a grand piano swayed above them. The coin, ejected by the fan, landed on the piano's edge. It tipped, crashing through the wall and pulling people with it. The piano crushed the boy below, who had just cheered his escape. The coin rolled back into the fountain he'd stolen it from, glinting mockingly. Lily heard a child's cry and spotted the singer's son hiding in a wooden box. She pulled him out, holding his trembling hand. They ran, dodging falling debris, but the building kept collapsing. Lily's hand caught in twisted metal rods, her ring snagging. It slipped off, and she and the boy fell, their screams echoing as they plummeted to their deaths. Decades later, in a crowded college lecture hall, Stephanie Reyes screamed, jerking awake from a nightmare. Her professor, annoyed, asked her to stay after class. "What's going on, Stephanie?" he demanded. She mumbled an apology, unable to explain the vivid dream that haunted her. Lily's tragedy, relived in every detail. That night and the next, the same nightmare returned, waking her roommate with her screams. "I'll strangle you if you don't stop," her roommate snapped. Stephanie confessed, "My grandmother was named Lily, but I never met her. I don't even know if she's alive." Her friend suggested researching Lily's life. "Maybe it'll stop the dreams," she said. Stephanie returned to her hometown, desperate for answers. Even brief naps brought the nightmare back, so she fought to stay awake, her eyes burning. Her father and younger brother Charlie greeted her warmly, but her old room was now Charlie's. She searched for a box of her mother's belongings, hoping to find photos or an address book. Her father didn't understand why she needed it. Finally, she admitted, "I'm looking for Grandma Lily." Her father's face hardened. "I threw out all that old stuff years ago," he said. Charlie appeared, excited about visiting cousins. Stephanie offered to drive him, and their father warned, "Don't mention Lily around Uncle Henry." She nodded, but in the car she told Charlie everything: the dreams, her fear of expulsion, her perfect student reputation crumbling. Charlie teased her, thrilled to see his perfect sister falter, but listened as she described the nightmare about their grandmother. "That sounds creepy, but it's just a dream," he said. At Uncle Henry's house, she met him, Aunt Betty, and their cousins Eric, Bobby, and Julia. She learned Charlie was taking lifeguard classes and had a crush he planned to ask out. While Charlie and Julia chatted, Stephanie cornered Henry in the kitchen, asking about Lily and sharing her dreams. Betty brushed it off as stress, but when Stephanie mentioned the restaurant in the sky, Henry and Betty exchanged uneasy glances. The cousins overheard, assuming Lily was long dead. Henry snapped, "Forget her. She ruined my life and your mom's." He explained that after Paul, Henry and Darlene's father, died, Lily lost her mind. She pulled her kids from school, locked them inside, and ranted about visions of their deaths. Child Protective Services took them away, but Lily stalked him, later sending terrifying letters with obituaries and photos of corpses. The family moved to escape her. Henry begged Stephanie to drop it, but Betty quietly handed her Lily's letters. Stephanie gasped, recognizing the young couple from her dreams, Lily and Paul. Determined, Stephanie drove to Lily's cabin, hidden deep in a forest. The property was fortified like a fortress, with gates and barbed wire. Lily, frail and elderly, let her in only after Stephanie left her keys and phone outside. Inside, Lily's eyes lit up, but she spoke to an invisible presence, unnerving Stephanie. Stephanie shared her mother's abandonment and the dreams. Lily's face grew solemn. "I cheated death," she said. Years ago, Lily had sensed a disaster at the Skyview Tower and stopped it by taking a coin from a boy and clearing the dance floor. The tower never fell, but death hunted the survivors and their descendants, who were never meant to die that day. Paul was among those killed in accidents later. Lily learned to sense death's approach, but now had cancer and knew her time was near. "The dreams came to you because you're next to protect us," she told Stephanie. A small kitchen fire flared, and Lily laughed, extinguishing it, taunting death. She gave Stephanie a book of omens she'd written to outwit death. Stephanie, overwhelmed, fled. Lily chased her, pleading, "Watch and see." A weather vane broke free, piercing Lily's chest, killing her instantly. At Lily's funeral, Darlene, Stephanie's estranged sister, showed up unexpectedly. Stephanie ignored her. Charlie scolded, "You're no better, ghosting me for weeks." Stephanie blamed stress, but he walked away. Stephanie began studying Lily's book, noticing omens everywhere. At a family barbecue, Bobby broke a glass, a shard landing in the ice. Darlene brought peanut cookies, forgetting Bobby's allergy. Charlie warned him in time. Julia choked on her drink, but it was just a fly, and she tossed the glass, missing the shard hidden inside. Stephanie found a lawnmower sketch in the book. Meanwhile, Eric's gas stove sparked, and a photo frame fell, sending glass toward her. She ran to Henry's yard, where kids bounced on a trampoline above a hidden rake. Henry jumped to join, but Darlene moved the rake. A bottle hit a lawnmower's remote, starting it. As Stephanie arrived, Henry tripped on a shard, stumbled, and fell into the mower's path. He died soon after. Stephanie, now convinced, studied Iris's book and found a clue about J.B., a survivor who beat death. She listed the restaurant survivors, all dead in accidents, and warned her family. Death took years to reach Iris because so many survived, but their children, like Stephanie and Charlie, were targets. The cousins scoffed, and Darlene begged, "Don't ruin your life like my mom did." That night, Eric, tattooing a tribute to Henry, caught his piercing on a chain, sparking a fire. He survived with minor burns. The next day, Stephanie warned him death was near, predicting a chain of events. Julia laughed, but the sequence unfolded, killing her in a garbage truck compactor, despite Stephanie's efforts to save her. The family realized Stephanie was right. Eric wasn't Henry's biological son, scrambling death's order. Bobby next joined Stephanie, Charlie, Darlene, and Eric to find William Bloodworth, the singer's son Iris saved. At a clinic, Bloodworth, now frail, explained that death could be tricked by new life, killing another or experiencing clinical death. Eric planned to trigger Bobby's peanut allergy and revive him. At a vending machine, Bobby got a peanut bar, but a spring loosened. In an MRI room, Bobby ate, suffocating. The MRI activated, killing Eric via his pierces. Bobby injected himself, surviving, but the spring shot out, piercing his skull. Stephanie, Charlie, and Darlene drove to Iris's cabin. Their van crashed, and Stephanie's seatbelt jammed. A spark ignited an explosion, flinging the van into a pond. Darlene saved Charlie, but died when a street lamp fell. Charlie freed Stephanie, reviving her. At Charlie's graduation, they learned drowning requires 5 minutes of unconsciousness. Stephanie was revived in 1 minute. A woman's dropped coin derailed a train, which crashed, dropping logs that crushed Stephanie and Charlie, fulfilling death's design. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe.